Cincinnati won it all, beating Boston 4-3. And in 1976, the Pittsburgh Steelers took the biggest prize in professional football, the Super Bowl, from Dallas. Today, from Hawaii, these champions battle it out for the Superteams Championship of 1976. Lynn Swann, wide receiver, number 88, the Super Bowl MVP among the athletes representing the Steelers. And Franco Harris, the big running back, who was the MVP in the Super Bowl a year ago, is on hand to compete for the Steelers. And so is number 20, the hard-hitting, running, and blocking back, Rocky Bleier. From the offensive line for the Steelers, number 72, Gerry Mullins. And a do-everything guy, big tackle, Jon Kolb. Out of the defensive line from the Steel Curtain, Dwight White. And the other defensive end, L.C. Greenwood. From the linebacking corps, Captain Andy Russell. He captains the Superteams competition for the Steelers. And Jack Ham, number 59, a three-time All-Pro, is back. And so is cornerback Mel Blount, who was the top interceptor in the NFL for 1975. Representing the Cincinnati Reds, the champions of baseball, catcher Johnny Bench. Some say the finest athlete ever to work behind the plate. The National League MVP, Flying Joe Morgan, captain for the Red Superteams competition. And third baseman Pete Rose named the MVP for his hustle in the Reds World Series victory. First baseman Tony Perez, the all-time greats when it comes to knocking runs home. Utility infielder Doug Flynn. Hard-hitting George Foster, swift outfielder for the Redlegs. Another outfielder, Merv Rettenmund. And the fastest of the Redlegs, outfielder Ken Griffey. Relief pitcher, right-hander Rawley Eastwick. And the hard-throwing left-hander for the Reds, Jon Gullett.
Diamond Head, the world-famous landmark of the island of Oahu. That means we are back in Hawaii, and we have come to the final round of the Superteams competition for 1976. And today we match up two world champions, the Cincinnati Reds from baseball and the Pittsburgh Steelers from football. Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. With me, Reggie Jackson of the Oakland A's. And Reggie, we finally get around to having two champions go at it.
Really couldn't ask for a better inning, Keith, if we had planned it. I'm sure hope the viewers out there don't think that we made it this way, but an exciting finish. We're going to see strength, I guess you could say, against versatility with baseball players. The Cincinnati Reds with three guys that have won Most Valuable Player Award, so they've shown that they can do a great many things. But on the other hand, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the strong guys, we've got the obstacle course, we've got the outrigger in canoeing, and, of course, the tug-of-war. So Cincinnati is going to have to knock these guys off before it gets down to the last.
Worth remembering, however, the Los Angeles Dodgers did win it in 1975. Everybody seems to be interested in money. This is how it goes. In the final event, the winning team gets $8,000 per event. The loser, nothing.
We have a total of 7 events. You'll have swimming, bicycle racing, that's tandem relay racing, a running relay, an obstacle course, then to the beach for volleyball, outrigger canoe race, and a tug-of-war. $126,000 total prize money. So, let's get it underway. Just roll your dice and take your chance. Skyline of Hawaii, stretching up toward the clouds just behind Punahou School, where we're ready for our swimming relay. The swimming goes this way. The leadoff man goes 25 meters. Then you have 3 double lappers or 50 meters. And then the last man goes 25 meters. 5-man teams. And I'll tell you something. As we've noted already, they are serious about this. It's not so much the money, as we have mentioned many, many times when you get great athletes together. It's the matter of pride. That competition comes swelling up. And I think just the look about them today as the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Steelers get ready to go at it is different than it was from the semifinals. Leading off in the swimming for the Steelers, it's Lynn Swann. And for Cincinnati, it is Joe Morgan. Here's Reggie with him.
We got the Super Bowl champions of football, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the world champion Cincinnati Reds of baseball. Who's going to win this thing, football player?
Football. Definitely football. We're bigger.
Why?
We're stronger. We're smarter. You know, we just got all the odds stacked in our favor. These little guys just don't have a chance.
All right. Us baseball, what you going to do?
Well, like I said, it's a game of skill and not of strength. And I know we're the smartest, so we don't have to worry about that. But I tell you what, after we win the finals, I'll be glad to shake Lynn's hand and, congratulate him on second place.
Yeah, I'll slip you a few bills from that first place money we get, too. Now, I ain't going to come watch you play baseball, either. If you come to Pittsburgh...
I'm an Oakland Raiders fan anyway.
Well, if you go to Pittsburgh, I hope you lose.
For the Pittsburgh... All right, Lynn Swann will be leading off for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 5'11", 179 pounds of swiftness and fire. Gerry Mullins, 6'3", 225 pounds. He's the big offensive lineman. Running back, Rocky Bleier. Rocky's 5'10", 207. Andy Russell, 6'2", 216. And Dwight White, 6'4", 255. Kerplunk in the anchor leg. For the Cincinnati Reds, it's Joe Morgan, 5'7", 155 pounds. He'll go 25 meters. And then Doug Flynn will go 50 meters or 2 laps. Doug is 5'11", 170 pounds. He is a utility infielder who can play anywhere you want to put him. Johnny Bench, 6'1". Hear this, 227 for John. Merv Rettenmund, 5'9", 189. And Rawley Eastwick, 6'2", 178 pounds. That's the lineup for the Cincinnati Reds. Swann and Morgan now set on the blocks. They'll go 25 meters each. Good long dive by Swanee, and immediately he has the lead. He got the lead off the block because he just simply outdove Joe Morgan, and he's going to touch first at the end of 25 meters, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have the lead with Gerry Mullins now in the water. And Mullins, a native Southern Californian, I'm sure has had plenty of time in the pool and at the beach. And Mullins now is stretching out to at least a body-length lead over Doug Flynn. Has a good turn. He's swimming very straight and building his lead. The Pittsburgh Steelers won over the Dallas Cowboys in the swimming at 1:59.8 seconds. The Cincinnati Reds had a 2:14.70 time as they lost to Boston in their preliminary. And Mullins hands over a big lead to Rocky Bleier. Rocky Bleier we've seen before. He can really turn it. If he stays on a straight line, he's going to be really hard to handle, and you can see the Steelers are building the lead. It's almost half the length of the pool as Bleier makes his turn. Johnny Bench thrashes off the turn, wobbles some, and Johnny now well back of Rocky Bleier as Rocky cruises into touch, and that sends Andy Russell on his way. Andy Russell may be the fastest of the Pittsburgh swimmers. So that means that Merv Rettenmund is in some trouble as he starts churning away, and now you can see it is almost 3/4 the length of this 25-meter pool. Andy Russell well on his way back as Merv Rettenmund makes the touch, comes off that touch a little bit slow. And Andy Russell now is going in at the end of 50 meters. Here's the final leg. It's big Dwight White. And he's slashing away at the water. He's halfway through the 25 meters. And finally, Rawley Eastwick gets into the water. He goes very deep because I think here Rawley knows it's all over as White has already touched. And the Pittsburgh Steelers win our opening event as they literally swamp the Reds. Reggie?
You guys got him on the run already, don't you?
Great. Everyone counts now. It really counts. Big payoff.
What are you going to do, these baseball players? You going to embarrass them?
We're going to embarrass them. We're going to take all 4 of them today, Rich.
You going to beat them 4 in a row?
4 in a row.
I'm going to go tell somebody that.
Please do.
Where have you been, Rawley?
Underwater a little bit. This is our weakest event, so they better look out in the other 6.
All right, the time for the winning Steelers, 1:55.24, good time, 2:10.50 for Cincinnati. And the Pittsburgh Steelers grab the opening in, take the lead 1-0, and put $8,000 in their pockets, and we'll have the bicycles next. If it means anything, you got to figure the Cincinnati Reds are going to be fighting mad now as we move over to the running track. Event number 2 for our world champions, the tandem bicycle racing. Team, 2 men, 1 bike, 4 teams. They go around the track once, each team. Total distance for the race, 1 mile. Remember this, the winner gets $8 grand, loser zip. Here's the way they'll start. Running in the first heat for the Pittsburgh Steelers, L.C. Greenwood and Mel Blount, alongside of Joe Morgan and Doug Flynn of the Cincinnati Reds. In heat number 2, we'll see Jack Ham and Rocky Bleier for the Steelers, Merv Rettenmund and Don Gullett for the Cincinnati Reds. For the Steelers in heat number 3, Jon Kolb and Gerry Mullins. There's a couple of horses. They're running alongside of Big John Bench and Tony Perez. The track will quake and shiver when that group gets out there. And at the back, the anchor men. Here's Reggie with Franco Harris, Andy Russell, Pete Rose, and Rawley Eastwick.
Andy Russell, the captain of this team here, you got a chance to bury these baseball players.
Well, it's a little early to be talking about burying him, Reggie, but I think it's a pivotal race. It's important. We don't know what the previous times were, so it's really hard to judge who's the better team. I think it's going to be a heck of a race.
Franco, I saw you rubbing your legs and getting all ready and excited. Did somebody say something to you where it means anything now?
Yeah, Reggie, I heard it was 8,000 or nothing, and I'm not used to getting nothing.
You ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Rawley Eastwick, you're behind Pete over here, and the whole team is behind the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, it's only the first event. You know, we got 6 to go, and there's a few coins on the line, so we're going to be putting out.
Pete, you brought it up from behind the other day. You just heard Franco say he's ready to put it on you and all ready to come up with the money.
Well, I think we'll have a lead going into the last lap there. I sure hope so, because the wind's tough on that backside. I don't want it to come from behind to beat Franco and Andy today, but if I have to, I will.
If you have to, you will. What about these football players? You tired of them beating up on you already?
They're good. They're good athletes, and just a pleasure to come over here and meet them. You know,
you're ready, ain't you?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Thank you, man.
Pete Rose, 35 years of age, a native son of Cincinnati, came out of the Reds farm system, joined the ball club in 1963. After 3 seasons in the minors, 13 seasons, his batting average is .310, best among the active National Leaguers. 7 times he's hit .300 or better, and he's been an all-star 9 times. The MVP in the '75 World Series, the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. He's on a team of superstars with people like Bench, Morgan, and Perez, but he drives himself constantly. Questioned about that, he answered this way.
Well, I think the 3 guys you mentioned keep me going because they're big agitators and we get along great. We're just like hand and foot together. We all get along so well. And I'm very fortunate, I think, because in my career I've got to play against Willie Mays, I've got to play against Henry Aaron. You played against Henry Aaron. I got to play against Stan Musial. And right now I feel like I play with the best player in baseball, and Joe Morgan, the best catcher maybe of all time, and Johnny Bench, and the best clutch RBI man I've ever seen in Tony Perez. So I'm very fortunate. And when you're representing guys like that, you just go out there and put out 110%. And you got to put out 110 because if I'm playing against you, you're going to be given 100. And if that's the case, no one's going to win. And the object of the game is to win.
Some earlier comments of Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose. I want to emphasize once more, this is a running track. It is flat. It is not banked into turns. You've got to be very careful when you get up to speed on these tandem bicycles. And the Cincinnati Reds coming from the outside. It is Morgan and Flynn jumping immediately into a lead over Greenwood and Blount. They just went blazing out.
Winner take all, which we've got to make the, a slip pedal. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to lose valuable ground like here. They haven't been able to get back on their pedals. Now they're just starting, and the red legs are going like a bat out of Cincinnati.
Joe Morgan and Doug Flynn now. They coast into the turn. It's a little slick there, too, because we have had some rain showers, as we have noted. The Pittsburgh Steelers combination of Greenwood and Blount struggling, trying to get some momentum going, but they are well back now, almost a full turn behind. The lead pair for the Cincinnati Reds, and now the Reds are coming into the relay area, and it's Merv Rettenmund and Don Gullett off and going, picking it up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It'll be linebacker Jack Ham and running back Rocky Bleier.
They've got a lot of ground to make up right now, Keith. As we saw earlier, Greenwood and Mel Blount had a problem. They slipped on their bike, and these fellas, the main thing they need to do right now is to try not to make a mistake. Keep those feet on those pedals.
Boy, they're clanking and clanking around there. Sounds like something's coming loose. Can you imagine the amount of torque that 2 big horses like that put on a simple, ordinary chain for a bicycle? It must be enormous, the G-force that's exerted on it. In the meantime, Rettenmund and Gullett are just flat sailing. They have had no trouble whatsoever. And here comes the 3rd pair for Cincinnati. Johnny Bench and Tony Perez. They're on their way. It'll be Jon Kolb and Gerry Mullins now for Pittsburgh, and the Steelers are still well back.
Jon Kolb, 6'3", 260, and Gerry Mullins, 6'3", 225 pounds. Now, you talk about torque, Keith, as you mentioned earlier. That's over 500 pounds, man. I wonder if that bike can stand all that kind of weight.
Yeah, They almost wound up in the swimming pool as they took that turn wide, and they are not gaining much on Bench and Perez. They have closed some coming down the straight, but it's in the turn where the big men usually have their problem.
They're having some trouble with their feet right now, making this turn. They're slowing down. They're going to lose ground here. If they get in trouble right here, as they are, they may not ever be able to make up the ground. They're all over the track, Keith.
Really wobbling. In the meantime, here's the final pair for the Cincinnati Reds, Pete Rose and Rawley Eastwick. It was against the Boston Red Sox, and Rose and Eastwick were well back, but fought all the way around the racetrack and pulled it out against the Red Sox in the preliminary competition. They're running right now in front of Franco Harris and Andy Russell. Now, Harris and Russell are very good on the tandem bike, but they have so very much to make up here, almost a half a straightaway.
No question about it. You see fellas that are used to being under pressure, especially a guy like a Pete Rose. He gets a lead like that, and he doesn't want to be a show-off. He doesn't want to be a big star, Keith. He just wants to hold on to what he has and hold the lead and be a winner. And you know how Pete Rose likes to win.
And he's heading now for the finish line, and the Cincinnati Reds have evened this competition at 1-1 with a time of 2 minutes 57.48 seconds for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is 3 minutes 0.84, so it's just a fraction over 3 minutes for the Steelers as the Redlegs win it. And a look in slow motion at the early problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. L.C. Greenwood and Mel Blount slipping right there, almost went down as the back wheel took a little slip in the soft going. And then the second instance of trouble for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which really sealed their doom in this bike relay, was Jon Kolb and Gerry Mullins, as they had closed some distance against Bench and Perez, but lost contact with the pedals, and so Cincinnati wins the bike race. We're even at 1-1. Here's Reggie.
Pete, you starring again.
Now, Joe opened up a big lead, Reg, and really helped us out because they made up some ground on Tony and John, but I think they lost the pedal there for a minute, so it got closer about the third leg, but wheeled him back up.
Morgan looked like he had a motor in him.
He jumped him right here on the gate. Got a good start, and, being small like they are, they opened up a big lead. That's all we needed.
You guys looked like you had done some practicing. No one lost their pedals, and each time you started, you were able to get up off of your bike and ride together and pump as hard as you possibly could.
I think it's a little easier, Reg, because our legs aren't as long as the football players. They got to reach down further, and I think that's what gives them the difficulty.
Reggie, I still think you and I could win it. We're all even at 1-1, and we'll have more action here on the running track in a moment with the running relay over a 3/4 mile distance. For our crowd here at Punahou School, a little light breeze drying things out, and we're ready now for the running relay. Here's Reggie with the team captains.
We're back in Honolulu, and it's fun for me, but I don't know about the teams from the super teams of Cincinnati and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Andy Russell, it's 1-1 now, and you guys were ahead. What are you going to do with these baseball players now?
Well, Reggie, they're pretty tough. I think what we're going to do, we're going to make some changes in our running relay team. Lynn Swann had a bad ankle in the preliminaries, and we had him run the 440, and it didn't work out too well for us. So we moved Lynn to the last 220. We moved Mel Blount into the 440, and we think that might improve our time a little bit.
Joe, these guys say they're stronger, faster. Football players are going to beat up on you guys.
Well, I tell you, my main concern right now, Reggie, I'm going to try and keep LC from stepping on me. I'm going to start out front. He's about 6'8". I'm going to try and keep him from stepping on me before we get around the turn. But we made a couple of changes also. We're moving Ken Griffey back from the 220 into the 110. He kind of ran out of gas on us the other day. And we're moving Doug Flynn into the 220. Doug's pretty strong, young fella, so we're going to run him into 220. But it's going to be a tough race. I think this is going to be one of the key races, events, in my opinion, because this is one of those toss-up events. And, they figured to beat us in the racing, and I figured we could beat them in the bicycle. Now, this is sort of a toss-up event. I think this is going to be a pivotal point here.
Reggie, I think we should also note that the Pittsburgh Steelers ran this race in the preliminaries about 2.5 seconds faster than the Cincinnati Reds, which obviously is why both captains have decided to make some changes. Now, the first two runners will go 110 yards each. The next three runners go 220 yards, and then the anchor men will run a 1/4 mile, 440 yards. That's where it starts to ache and hurt a little bit. Also worth remembering that the winner gets $8,000, the loser, nothing. So let's see what happens.
And coming out of the blocks for the first 110 yards, or the first leg of this 3/4 mile total distance, Joe Morgan for Cincinnati and L.C. Greenwood for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The little man and the big man. Now, in the preliminary competition, I remember L.C. Greenwood went into this turn and kind of lost his balance and veered out of the turn. Let's see if he can hold his posture on the inside lane, and he does. And he's running just very even with Morgan. The batons are passed almost together. It's Jack Ham for Pittsburgh and Ken Griffey for Cincinnati.
This is where one of the changes were made. Ken Griffey ran the 220 and almost ran out of gas the last time he ran against the Red Sox and Fred Lynn. And here's the pass off to Franco Harris and Don Gullett. Look at the big guy go. 6'2", 237 pounds. Look at my man run.
He can turn it on. The pitcher, Don Gullett for Cincinnati, trying to hang on to him. But Franco with long strides, running loose and free. No trouble. He's a burner. And he is going to turn over a substantial lead now to Rocky Bleier. Rocky's on his way and running for Cincinnati. It is Doug Flynn, infielder, who probably should be pretty quick.
That little slip with Doug Flynn, he's going to have to do all he can to catch Rocky Bleier. Rocky has a tendency to tighten up because he's very, very muscular, and Doug Flynn, a good, clean, smooth athlete.
Oh, that's Rocky. That's Bleier spending. He almost tumbles down. Hands the baton over to Lynn Swann, and Swann now is moving out to a substantial lead. He's also running against the pitcher, Rawley Eastwick. He's a little taller, but Swann is holding his own, in fact, gaining.
Here's where we had another change. Last week, Lynn Swann ran the 440, and he did not like it. This week, he's changed to 220. He looks a heck of a lot better. And here's where men are made among men in the 440.
I tell you, Swanee and Mel Blount almost fumbled the baton, though, and cost them precious time. But you can see the big cornerback for Pittsburgh is out with a big lead over outfielder George Foster. Now, we know Foster is very quick. He's also very strong, but I really wonder if George is strong enough to make up that much distance against an athlete like Mel Blount. The Steelers call him Super Body. He is a great athlete, and he's running free and easy right now and holding that margin against George Foster.
He is a great athlete. When you talk about greatness, this is one time you don't overuse the word, Keith. He was named the Defensive Football Player of the Year in the National Football League last year with 11 interceptions, and he probably could have got 13. They're coming out to the end right now, and poor George Foster just not going to be able to make up that ground on Mel Blount. He's closing the ground, and as I said, you see his legs get heavy, and men are made among men, and there's a true, true man right there.
The time for the winning Steelers, 2 minutes, 31.78 seconds, 2:37.63 for Cincinnati. And the Steelers immediately go over to help hold Mel up because that's a long grind at 440 yards. So the Steelers take the lead 2-1. Just too much to make up, George.
Yeah, too big of a lead for me to make up with the speed that Mel had. I didn't think he was going to be consistent with that pace, but he kept it up. As it turned out, I couldn't catch up with him. But we have to capitalize on the next event.
That must kind of stick in your craw. I think you guys kind of figured you're going to win this, didn't you, the relay?
Yes, we did. I felt that if we could stay close. But the last guy with Swann and Eastwick could have stayed close. Maybe I would have a chance. I was saying to myself, maybe I should have started sooner, try to catch up, but I wouldn't have had that much left at the end.
I see why they call you Super right now.
Well, we got a lot of super guys on our team. I think Swann made the difference when he ran the last 220. Gave me a good lead, and all I had to do was hold it.
LC, I had no idea you could outrun Morgan. Do you think you outran him?
No, I didn't really outrun him. I just stayed with him. I was trying to stay with him. I know my legs not as strong as his now because I've been doing a lot of work during the season, and his legs are fresh. I think with some fresh leg, I'd have ran off from him.
Franco, you might have been the guy or looked like the guy that ran off and hid from Don Gullett.
Well, Reggie, I really didn't look behind me. I don't know how far I was ahead, but I kept telling myself, just push, 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 and push. Give it all you got. That's all.
Ready to do it again?
No.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers with 2 wins have $16,000 in their pocket. And remember, $45,000 bonus money for the winner. We'll go to the obstacle course next. Pounding thing. The 12-foot wall at the start of the obstacle course. You can see just how far up it is to the top. If you recall in the preliminary competition, but a lot of people who couldn't make it, in particular Dallas Cowboys, who chose to accept that penalty, make a try, take their 2-second penalty and go around it. There have been those among our world champions who have considered the same thing. They have doctored it just a little bit. They put some rosin on it,
and they've used a little sandpaper, try to make it a little rougher so that their feet will stick to it. But if you've ever tried to attack a 12-foot wall with just a rope and your own body, you'll find it's not easy. The man who has done it himself many times, sometimes more successful than others, is this big horse, Reggie Jackson. Now, Reg, it seems to me here in Hawaii we have had more trouble with the wall than we have ever seen at Rotunda. And it looks higher here in Hawaii to me.
It does, Keith. The main problem to me is that a lot of guys do not attack the wall correctly. The most important thing, and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but believe me, I'm very happy that I don't have to do it down here with these guys. But the thing to do is to come to the wall and try to jump up it as high as you possibly can with 1 foot.
Feet up, your first foot up as high as you can.
As high as you possibly can, and to stay away from the wall. To stay away from the wall like this. And then try to climb up and walk up the wall. If you come too close to the wall and try to pull yourself up by your arms, then it's all on your arms. It takes a heck of a lot of strength and a lot of time. So we got to try and attack the wall, push off, and then try to walk up it as best you can.
As best you can.
As best you can, because it is an equalizer.
And it reaches way up in the blue sky. For the Pittsburgh Steelers leading off now, it's going to be Franco Harris in the first run. Number 32 for the Steelers, 26 years of age, 6'2", 240 pounds, a graduate of Penn State University. 3 times in 4 seasons in the NFL, he's gained more than 1,000 yards. 1,246 yards in 1975 for an average just under 5 yards per carry. 10 touchdowns. The Super Bowl MVP a year ago when he ran for 158 yards against Minnesota. The 1972 AFC Rookie of the Year. One of the most popular Steelers. And except for injury, he might well have gained more than 1,000 yards in 4 successive seasons. Quick, agile, smart, tall. Watch this effort right here. Watch the power, the balance of the man. And with it, those plain old-fashioned guts, because you take punishment when you run inside like this. Franco Harris. Not uncommon to carry it 30 times in a ball game. On 3rd and 1, everybody in the ballpark knows who's going to be the man. Reggie asked him how he felt about this kind of work.
Well, Reggie, to tell the truth, I kind of love it. It's a really big challenge, and I always think I'm going to make it. I always know I'm going to make it. I think I have the kind of ability that if I have to get to 1 yard by going over somebody, I will. If I have to feel that I need some speed, I think I got it. Or if I have to make a cut, I think I can do that too. So in crucial situations, I love to play ball because I think I'm a pressure ball player. And, you know, and like when it really counts and when it's going for everything, I have a lot of confidence in myself. And I think as of lately, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers have shown they have a lot of confidence in me too, because in a lot of situations, you know, like they would turn to me in those sort of things. So it's, you know, it's something that just has built up, and you know, like just that competitive spirit that I'm, you know, just going to get the most as I can in any given situation.
So Franco leads off on the obstacle course for the Steelers, and running for Cincinnati on the first leg will be outfielder Merv Rettenmund. Total of 6 runners, and it's cumulative time. Rettenmund on the wall. He's over the top, and Franco is spinning. Can't reach the top. Now he struggles over. In the meantime, Merv Rettenmund is gone.
Flying. Look at the quickness he's showing going through those tires right there. And he's got a lead on Franco that Franco just may not be able to catch up on. No mistakes. Up over the high jump bar. Nice flip. Franco again over the water jump. Over the high jump bar. No mistakes. And here comes Rettenmund bringing it on home. Franco, you got to stay tough. You don't want to get too far behind and lose up some ground.
26-2-3 for Merv Rettenmund.
Well, that's a heck of an effort.
After 2 or 3 days out here, they all get difficult.
What do you think, Pete? That's some run.
Oh, that's about it. I'm going back and land the beach rest today.
For Franco Harris, 29-8-0. For Captain Andy Russell, a problem.
Andy, what's the problem here? A little discrepancy in the wall?
Well, we're not sure, Reggie. It appears to me that the yellow wall is slicker than the red wall. I noticed that the Reds warmed up on this. They were having difficulty. They slipped off. They chose the red wall. Our suggestion is, why not rotate the walls? It equalizes the competition. It throws out any possibility that one wall is slicker than the other.
Well, let's go back now to the start of this first run. You see Merv Rettenmund hit the wall, stick to it. Franco, in the meantime, is over there spinning his wheels. Literally had to arm pull his way up over the top, and that is the hard way, not to mention the fact it is the slow way to do it.
But give him credit for sticking with it and getting over it. Here we go with match number 2. Big Jon Kolb of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 6'3", 260. Ken Griffey, the fastest Cincinnati Red, but he does not get over the wall before Jon Kolb does. Very agile big man, 6'3", 260. Look at him get up on the monkey bars and go through it, Keith.
Griffey drops off just a half a step ahead of him. They work their way through the tires. So far, we have not had any mistakes by anybody, and now Griffey, with that speed, beginning to put him away as he comes to the tape, and it's a great run for Ken Griffey. 27.70 seconds for Kenny, 29.24 for Jon Kolb. The total time for the Cincinnati Reds now, 53.93, and for the Steelers, 59.04, so it's almost a 6-second lead for the Cincinnati Reds after 2 runs. And so far, we have had no mistakes on the obstacle course, and that is a very unusual thing. Each event worth $8,000 to the winner. The loser comes up empty. We'll continue. The obstacle course, we have 4 runners left, and the Cincinnati Reds are leading by almost 6 seconds. Here's Reggie with Rocky Bleier.
You got your work cut out for you. How important is the competition here?
Oh, you know, it's important because, you know, with the athletes that you got here, that's the bloodstream of their life, a competition. You know, money is a variable that you work for. You got to live. But it's the competition, the pure competition, competing against the best. Cincinnati against the Steelers, individual against individual. Whether you win or lose, it's the spirit of the competition. And, of course, everybody here wants to win, and so that makes it exciting.
Rocky Bleier wears number 20 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is also one of the rock-solid blockers that you're going to run into in the National Football League, and very often you're going to see number 20 in front of Franco Harris when Franco is blowing them down and breaking big games. He's out of Notre Dame at 5'10", 207 pounds, played 10 games, 1968 for Pittsburgh. In the Army, severely injured, came back all the way, and his past experiences makes playing pro football a very special thing.
In football, I think in any other profession, you look at yourself and say, what can I do? What can I do best? You know, I'm not that big, I'm not that fast. I just am very grateful that I can fit into an organization as the Steelers, compliment Franco in the backfield, and be able to do a job that's satisfactory to the, you know, to the coaching staff, and so that I can still be there. That's what it's all. That's what it makes it important. That I'm happy, I can provide for my family, and it's a lot of fun. And I wouldn't trade it in the world. There's times before a game, and I get so excited that I just think about that game coming on. That sometimes tears just well up my eyes, saying, you know, all the hard work, it's worthwhile to be here on a stool in the locker room before the game on a Sunday. Everything that you've worked for, everything that you've put into a game makes it all worthwhile. Whether you lose or win that game, it's the moment before that you say, thank God that I'm here.
Comments from Rocky Bleier, very interesting young man. Don Gullett now will be running against Rocky Bleier as we go with our 3rd pair of runners in the competition, and the Cincinnati Reds are holding almost a 6-second lead. And boy, I tell you, that Gullett got over that wall in a hurry that time.
3rd pair of runners in Cincinnati always seems to come up with the same shoes on, Keith. I think the shoes must have something to do with getting over that wall and getting a grip. Alley-oop and up and over the high jump, and the same thing at Rocky Bleier. Make note again, we have not had any mistakes. Look at the guys get over the hurdles, and Don Gullett is leading the way.
26.26 seconds for Don Gullett, 28.39 for Rocky Bleier. Here in slow motion. Now let's have a look at those shoes. And you are right, it is the same pair of shoes that every one of those Cincinnati Reds have worn. So
we see him spinning wheels over there, Keith. Rocky Bleier having a problem.
Well, now we know something, don't we? And Cincinnati now leading by 7 1/4 seconds.
Well, you guys have got your jaw set, haven't you?
Well, you're behind and you're going for the money, Keith. You got to get out there and give it all you got.
It's like you got to be up around 7 seconds now.
Well, we're working on the things that we didn't work on the other day. Stay away from mistakes.
All right, we've got some arguments now back around the starting line. Reggie is in the crowd. Let's listen. Competition Director Barry Frank there with Lynn Swann.
Perfect position on it. He's not hanging, he's not parallel, and he's still slipping.
What's the problem, Barry?
The problem is that the Steelers claim that their wall is slicker than the Reds' wall. And we've tried to keep them as even as possible. We've put some rosin on it. We put more rosin. We suggested they put rosin on their feet. The walls theoretically were exactly the same going in. They were built the same. And it was the Reds' choice of lanes, and that's the way we set it up going in, and we have to honor that. We have to try and make the walls even. We put more rosin on, and we'll continue to do so.
Why the Reds' choice of lane?
Because the Steelers won the last event, and the losing team from the previous event gets their choice of lanes in the next event.
Well, they're continuing to pat rosin onto it, but I don't think that much of an answer. Let's see. Here's Andy now with Reggie.
The commissioner is the commissioner. We have to abide by what he says, but we're just trying to make our point.
You don't like it?
No. Two out of three of our men have slipped.
So the captain of the Steelers is unhappy. Well, let's see what happens here as Mel Blount runs for Pittsburgh and George Foster runs for Cincinnati. And the Redlegs are leading by just a little more than 7 seconds. And let's check the shoes now as George hits the wall. If he's got on the same pair of shoes, then we know that's the key. Different kind of a sole might stick to that particular kind of wall. Now, he doesn't have those shoes on.
He does not. He does not. Mel Blount, you've got a long way to go. You've already shut him down in the 440-yard dash. And I'll bet you Mr. Foster wants to put it back on you this time.
And he does have a lead as he comes off the monkey bars. Oh, little trouble in the tires for George, and he loses some distance to Mel Blount. Blount catching up. Oh, he hurdles the high bar, and Blount goes out in front. So Mel Blount is the first runner we've had. Hurdled the high bar, and he finishes in front.
Hey, big guy, you took a gamble on that high bar. Made it work. Yeah, well, I've been looking at the guys who was hauling over, and I felt that if I just jumped it, I would get more time, and I did.
Well, you picked up quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I figure I picked up a couple of seconds because anytime you jump over and you got to get up, get a guy a chance to, get his momentum up on you and catch up on you.
Did you have any trouble with the wall? Is your wall, you feel, slicker than theirs?
Well, I don't know. We had a couple of guys slip, but I don't think it's that much on the wall, When you're going over the wall, you got to keep your butt out and pull, If you just get parallel, like an L shape, you'll slip every time.
Heck of an effort, big guy.
Okay, thank you, Keith.
Now, checking the cumulative time, it's just under 7 seconds, the margin for the Cincinnati Reds. So Mel did chop about a half a second off the Cincinnati lead. Now it is Doug Flynn for the Reds and Jack Ham, big linebacker from Pittsburgh. And I want to check now the shoes that Doug Flynn's wearing. And Reggie, he's got on that same pair of sneakers that everybody else has been wearing except Foster.
No question about it. I wonder if all these guys on the team wear the same size shoe. If not, they're sure crunching their toes, that's for sure. Doug Flynn, utility ball player, plays all the positions in the infield and the outfield, too. He's getting his opportunity to prove his athletic agility over the high jump bar. Right now, him and Jack Ham almost a dead heat. Now we'll see who's going to be able to take over and go to the finish line and wind up first. Jack Ham is going to be the first one to the finish line.
But not by much. Only 5/100ths of a second. 27.64 for Jack Ham, 27.69 for Doug Flynn. They came over the water jump and over the high bar, literally together. But coming off the pad, Ham was able to generate more momentum. Flynn gained some coming over the hurdles, and they came to the tape almost together. Great run. Margin now for the Cincinnati Reds over the Pittsburgh Steelers. About 6.8 seconds. That's a pretty good lead. But we've got one big run to go, and it's Lynn Swann, the record holder, against Joe Morgan. We'll see it right after this.
Here in the obstacle course, and you won it in the Superstars also down at Rotunda. You need a super performance here because your team is a little over 6 seconds behind.
Well, we're over 6 seconds behind, and I don't think I've ever beaten anybody by that much, and Joe Morgan's a good athlete. I don't know if I can do it, but just go all after it. It's competitive, and got no other choice. Got to go after it.
Lynn Swann, number 88. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, 5'11", 179. USC All-American, 24-year-old bachelor. He had 49 catches, 781 yards, 11 touchdowns in 1975. Barring injury of major consequence, I think this fellow will go on to become one of the all-time great receivers. And pressure, as we know, comes right with success.
It does, because when you do well at the beginning, you feel pressure to always have that type of success. I've been playing professional football for 2 years. I've been in 2 Super Bowls. So I feel that that's where I should be. I'm not used to a 14 or a 20 game season. I'm used to playing 23 or 24 football games now. So I always have that drive to be where I feel I should be. Then again, if I'm not there, I have to always put things in perspective and say, well, there's next year, and you can't win it forever. And just get prepared for those things. You have to be a realist and not get overtaken by all the glamour and success of 1 year. Come back, try to obtain that same success, but if you don't get it, realize you can always come back next year and work for it.
Lynn Swann, the record holder for this event, the obstacle course, 20.56 seconds a year ago. He's running against Joe Morgan, and his team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, are down by more than 6 seconds.
So he's got pressure and his work cut out for him this time, Keith.
Big lead. He's on the monkey bars, flies through them. He's out of the tires as Morgan goes into the tires. He's over and knocked down the high bar. Would you believe it? And it's a 4-second penalty. 4 seconds in the final run. So Lynn Swann has a 21:04, but he has a 4-second penalty to tack on to it.
You might have broken your own record if you'd had a little better luck on that high bar.
I came into it. My step was too far back. I chopped it because I knew I had to hurl it. I blew it. I missed it. It's my own fault. Maybe I should have, in midstream, changed it up, but I felt I had to pull all the stops and do everything, and we're 6 seconds behind. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but gave him a shot.
All-American, All-Pro, he certainly gave it the best try he possibly could. He had to make up a little bit too much ground. There you saw the slip, and there you saw him knock down a high jump bar. Over the hurdles, but not quite enough. A 4-second mistake, and Cincinnati did not make any the entire event, and that was the difference.
And the Cincinnati Reds, in winning over the Pittsburgh Steelers on the obstacle course by 5.80 seconds, ran it 26 seconds faster than they did in the preliminary competition. The overall scoreboard, it's 2-2. On the scoreboard at 2-2, and we have moved to the beach at the Hilton Hawaiian Village for volleyball. Here's a sample of what we have been watching in our volleyball contest between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Reds with a score 12-7. Watch this furious exchange. Not artistic, mind you, but frantic and furious. The ball has gone back and forth, and once in a while way up into the air, and once in a while off a head, off a shoulder, off an elbow, whatever it takes, get it over. This won't win you very many trophies in organized beach volleyball, particularly in the area along Southern California where it's played so well. And there have been times when both teams have gone defensive. And generally, it's been a defensive contest. But once in a while, there's been a very sharp play like that one by Johnny Bench. And now, we are switching sides with our score reading 13-7 as we resume our coverage of the action here. And you see the crowd is sitting right alongside the volleyball area with Doug Flynn serving for the Cincinnati Reds. The wind has been a little bit of a problem. You get that ball way up in the air, the wind will move it quite a bit, and it can cause you to palm it if you're not careful. The referee is Chris McLaughlin, who is the instructor volleyball at Punahou School, and a fine player himself, and that is off the hands of Merv Rettenmund and out of bounds, so it'll be a side out to the Pittsburgh Steelers now as Rocky Bleier will go back into serving position with a score at 13-7, Cincinnati leading. You can see now they're beginning to come to the net with a little more authority. Mel Blount It is off the hand of Doug Flynn, and it's a point for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And our scoreboard now reads 13-8. The Steelers have been struggling. They were down 8-0 before they finally scored against Cincinnati, but they have fought back gamely, and now they're in the hunt at 13-8. But they can't afford many more mistakes. Ooh, that was almost over the net. And we get a net call against the Steelers. It'll be side out to Cincinnati. At 13-8, Johnny Bench now drops back to serve. 6-man teams for this beach volleyball. And Mel Blount up over the top. Palming is called on him. Mel Blount called for palming the ball. He got too much of the palm on it. And that makes it 14-8 Cincinnati. 14-8. Only 1 point away. They play one game up to 15 points. So if the Reds are careful here, they might pull this out and take a lead. Standings even at 2-2. This is the 5th event. Into the net by Jon Kolb, and the Cincinnati Reds have won the volleyball by a score of 15-8. 15-8, and the Redlegs have the lead. All right, here's Reggie.
Johnny, you guys got them 3-2 right now. A little better ball club, a little better athletes because of the hand-eye coordination of baseball.
I think so. Of course, they're not used to, handling the ball at all. And the linemen, some of these linemen, it's a little difficult just to come out here and do it all of a sudden. And we really worked hard. We worked probably 5 or 6 hours just in the prelims, before they started, just to get ready for today. And, we sort of had an idea what everybody was supposed to do. And we told them where they were supposed to be, and they just did it. And this is where we wanted to be, because we think the rowing is our strong event.
You think the rowing is their strong event. What about the tug of war?
Well, I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to be leading 4-2 when we go on the tug of war, and when it comes down to that, we really don't care. We'll let them have the 7th game. I'm not going to burn myself up like I did the other day.
Nice going. Hold it up for baseball, will you?
We got it. We got it.
Mistakes, mistakes, mistakes.
Yeah, it's the same thing in football. It's critical. We can't afford them. We went in the games thinking we just got to play defense, get the ball up in the air, don't try to make the great shot. We did the exact opposite. We were in the nets. We were trying to make the spikes, and we were carrying the ball, and it was, just a very poor effort on our part. It wasn't good thinking, and now we're in trouble because, they've got a 6-second better time in the canoe race. They got a lot lighter. They're probably about 150, 200 pounds lighter. Our canoe's in the water down deep, so it's a problem.
There were so many times, Mel, when you were on that front line that you were so high and had the spike going, yet twice just barely touching the net.
Well, Keith, that's the problem. We had guys jumping into the net instead of jumping straight up, snapping their wrists, and we just got in trouble by making mistakes. It's just like any sport. When you start making mistakes, it'll kill you.
And so the baseball team has taken a 3-2 lead. And I think it's worth remembering that a baseball team won it all a year ago, the Dodgers. We'll see what happens in the canoe racing in a moment. The outrigger canoe race. Let's go back to the obstacle course and have some fun with it. This particular event has a noble history in sport. Back in 1904, at the Olympic Games and the Exposition in St. Louis, there was actually a trial run of the obstacle course as a potential Olympic event. Well, thank goodness it was not accepted. But it did suggest to the military, I suppose, something that might be used, and they have ever since. And back in 1904, the wall was just as much a problem as it is today, particularly at places like Rotunda. And there are obviously other moments of deviltry included in any obstacle course. for the women as well as the men. And for the super teams as well. Who will ever forget Ed Too Tall Jones and his struggle with the wall? Not to mention Robert Newhouse. But Ed is indefatigable. Never will he surrender to a wall. Number 6, the outrigger war canoe race, and the Cincinnati Reds are holding a 3-2 lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a victory here would give the overall championship to the Reds. Rowing bow, Merv Rettenmund, who has already proven his agility, particularly in the obstacle course. Utility player Doug Flynn, who has come down here and shown us a tremendous amount of athletic ability. He's been in every event. Right behind Doug, here's Rawley Eastwick coming out of the bullpen again. Where Jordan ready to go. Here's the man in the engine room, Tony Perez, the muscle of the bunch. Right behind Tony, it's George Foster. Then we have a space between George and Don Gullett, the left-hander. And then sitting back here, comfortable in that he knows he can afford to lose this one and still win it all because of their lead, the steersman, Captain Joe Morgan. Why do you have the space between Don and George?
Well, we try to keep the boat level as possible, Keith. If we get it going too heavy in the front or too heavy in the back, I think it'll throw us off. But this way, we keep the boat perfectly level, and we can keep it from coming up out of the water.
Joe, how do you want to go into your turns? Now, you going to go in tight, or are you going to go wide and come out tight?
Well, I'm going to have to play it by ear the first one, Keith, because there's a lot of wind, crosswind today. The other day, it wasn't that much wind, and I could cut it very closely. I'm going to cut it medium the first time, and the second time around I should have a very good idea of how I want to do it, and that'll be the important leg anyway coming home.
And we might note that the wind is starting to gust up some. And now the lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are indeed up against it at this point in the competition. Rowing bow, linebacker Jack Ham. Right behind him, Gerry Mullins, offensive lineman. Then the captain of the Steelers for the Super Teams competition, linebacker Andy Russell. Running back Franco Harris is sitting in the engine room. In the middle of it, the two big guys right behind Franco is Jon Kolb. And then right behind Jon Kolb, hidden, almost obscure, almost, wide receiver Lynn Swann. Now this is the change going for the lighter man. Swanee is sure that he's just as strong. Well, we'll find out. You know, what we thought in the preliminaries was that Rocky Bleier, the steersman, was going to be put up in bow because he's light and he's strong, but here he is still manning the guiding lines. Well, Mr. Steersman, you got to do a job today.
That's right, Keith. We made the change. Everybody's been talking about we have to win this one, which we do. I think it's going to come down to how we take the buoys. In our prelim, we didn't do a very good job, and that's where it's going to be.
You want to go in tight, or you want to come out tight?
We want to come from wide and make the turn tight, you know, so that we don't drift out. We don't have that much room down here. We can't drift out like we did in the preliminaries, so we got to keep it tight around the buoys and keep them.
They'll do a good job, because there's a whole lot of difference in that bonus money.
That's right.
Good luck. The difference in the money actually is $20,000 because the winner of the overall competition and championship gets $45,000 bonus, the loser $25,000. Of course, the winner of each event gets $8,000, the loser nothing. Big John Kamakai now ready to send them on their way, and I got to think the wind is going to be a problem. It's gusting quite strongly right now, and here we go. The Cincinnati Reds in the red boat and the Pittsburgh Steelers in the white boat. Both of them get off the mark very well. The Steelers are 243 pounds heavier than the Cincinnati Reds. So that might be an advantage because of the wind, or it might not be. We'll see. It's 2 laps around. The course laid out here in the lagoon at the Hawaiian Village. Both of them beginning to move rather smoothly now, but looks to me like that Cincinnati kind of veered right for a moment to get over into the shallow water, but I guess Joe Morgan wants to take it wide and bring it back in tight. And looks like he's already assuming a turning posture. In the meantime, Rocky Bleier has the Steeler boat right about where he said he wanted it. Now, if he can hold it in there, they're moving it very well. That's a super turn by the Steelers. Meantime, Cincinnati is going to be coming off wide off that turn. Now the Redlegs are going to lose some time and distance to Pittsburgh because of a very sloppy turn. They almost crossed over the rope. So they're struggling to get back into the line that they want to chase toward the end of the first lap. In the meantime, the Steelers are well out and moving well. Good stroke, good sound rhythm as they're counting it off. In the meantime, the Cincinnati stroke has grown quite ragged. You can see them wobbling all over the place. Joe trying to bring them back into the buoy now, trying to keep it tight, trying to pick up what he lost at the other end. Oh, he almost fell. Joe Morgan reaching as deep into the water as he could with his paddle to pull the boat tight to the buoy, almost fell off the back of it. You have 6 oarsmen, 1 steersman. In the initial Super Teams competition, we had some of the Hawaiians doing the steering, the professionals. This year, they decided to let the athletes do their own steering. And right now, it's become something of a problem for the Cincinnati Reds. In the meantime, the Pittsburgh Steelers, holding at least a boat length lead, are coming in very snug to the buoy. Joe Morgan trying to reach that in and hold his crew close to the buoy. But he's not going to be able to do it. They're going to be very, very wide, and they're going over the top of the buoy. That conceivably could get a disqualified, depending on how the judges on the course would rule it. And they're crossing over the rope. They'll have to bring it back into their own side of the lagoon. There is no interference. They're just simply struggling, trying to get a line. In the meantime, they're beginning to look at the Steelers' wake because Pittsburgh is well on the way toward the finish line. Running a very smooth, easy stroke. I say easy, and put that in quotes because they are reaching for everything they can put to it. But they are so far out in front now that the Steelers can coast home. And you know what? We're going to be all even at 3-3 as we get ready to go to the tug of war. Here come the Steelers, and Reg is there to greet them.
How do you feel, Jack? How do you feel, Jack Ham?
I can't even talk. I don't know what happened. I don't know how we did it. I have nothing left.
You tired?
Beat.
How do you feel, Mullins?
Yeah. That's one of the toughest. That last turn almost took it out of all of us. We're trying to suck it up for the turn, and we're a little confused there. We were, I think, getting a little paranoid about Cincinnati making a better turn than we were. And once we got around the turn, we had a nice lead. We just tried to stretch it out the finish line, which we did. It's a great race.
Andy, you look like you could use a little rub down.
Oh, Reggie, I'm dying. That is one tough event. It's incredibly exhausting.
You ready to go get him in the tug of war now?
I'm not ready right now, Reggie. We need some time.
That's hard work, huh, Doug?
Yes, it sure was. We just didn't execute that time too well, and they executed pretty good, and that was the difference.
Let me go back here. Tony sitting here trying to get himself back to get
my sight together. Yeah, we're trying too hard on the turns, and we just missed it.
Go back here with the steersman. Joe, that didn't quite come off the way you'd hoped.
No, I made some bad turns up there, Keith. We made a change on the last leg that were pretty close to even. And when we changed, you know, with no momentum to the boat, and the wind just pushed us into the buoy there. And basically it was my fault because I didn't guide it right.
And so we have the circumstance Cincinnati Reds did not want. Score tied 3-3 with the tug of war, the only event remaining, and the championship right on the line. Tell tells us that the longest tug-of-war ever held 2 hours and 41 minutes between H Company and E Company of the 2nd Battalion of the Sherwood Foresters in Jubbulpore, India, August 12, 1889. E Company won its bid. 8-man teams had tug-of-war in the Olympic Games. 1920, Antwerp, Belgium. Britain won a gold, Denmark a silver, and Belgium a bronze. Tug-of-war is an old Hawaiian game, actually called hooky hooky, a long time ago. But the setting then was certainly not like it is today, and the contestants were not quite the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cincinnati Reds. And for the 7 Steelers, here's the way they'll pull from the front. Up front, closest to that line of decision, it's Rocky Bleier, running back. Right behind Rocky, you have Gerry Mullins, offensive lineman. And then linebacker, Jack Ham. Lynn Swann is in the middle. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's there anyway. Move on back here to some more muscle. Here's Mel Blount. And the captain, Andy Russell. Andy, I know you're concerned about the fellows keeping their legs under them.
Yeah, I think it's very important. If you lay out prone, you have no strength, Keith. You're just into your arms. You know, your arms don't have that much strength versus the baseball players. So we've got to try and keep our feet underneath us.
And the anchor man for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's got himself dug in pretty well, 255 pounds of him, Jon Kolb. John, if they pull you out of that hole, it'll be like pulling a tree out by the roots.
Well, I got 6 teammates would be pretty upset if they do. So.
Right. Now, here's the working order for the Cincinnati Reds.
We've got 7 Cincinnati Reds. Leading off for Cincinnati will be left fielder George Foster. Backing him up will be outfielder Merv Rettenmund. And in the third spot, and usually leading off, is left fielder Pete Rose and the Sportsman of the Year. You guys have had the same amount of men. They're supposed to outweigh you.
Well, the funny thing about that, they got one guy who weighs 255, too, but they put Blount and they put Lynn Swann in there, and they got it right at 1,500 pounds. We thought we'd have a man advantage, but we're the same with about 70 pounds disadvantage. So it's going to be tough to do. We got to work on it.
I think you can do it, though, Pete. Next in line, we've got left-hander Don Gullett. We get back to the speedster in the crowd and Ken Griffey. Tony Perez providing all the muscle he can possibly provide. And man, that drives in all the runs for that ball club. So you're used to being in that position, being under pressure, Tony. And my man back here eating up the rope, all bandaged up, all clothed up, and praying or talking or doing something. Are you that far off already?
I got a bad tooth, and if they yank as hard as I think they're going to, I'm going to get some use out of this.
You look like you got a hole dug up here all the way halfway to China, John.
I'm just, maybe come out skiing. These guys, what are you going to do? We've come down to this thing. I thought we could have won it last outing, and we didn't play well at all in the boats, and now we just got to hump it up a little bit. Tony said, we made enough money. I don't think he's going to give up, though. When it comes time, we're going to be yanking our heads off, but they've been here before, and it's going to be a rough trip. I'm just psyching myself up a little bit.
You're used to it, buddy.
Better look around for a couple of concrete blocks, too, John. 1,500 pounds exactly for the 7 men who make up the Steeler tug-of-war team. 14:30 for Cincinnati. Lord James Blears will start them.
6 inches this way. 6 inches. Come on. Hold it. No. Back up. Back a little bit.
Pittsburgh immediately jerks that white flag all the way to the edge of the water pit. Here comes the other flag. It's near the line. It's over. I don't believe it. 9.83 seconds. That's all it took.
I don't think you had this much whooping and hollering in that other big one.
Well, this is more exciting because that's our business. There you really plan on doing good, but this was incredible. I never anticipated such a quick win.
We got it going, and they couldn't stop you.
Well, we went to great pains to get 7 guys. We've always gone with 6, and we wanted to get 7 guys. The theory being that 2 little guys are better than 1 big guy. So we made that change, and it really helped us, Keith.
Well, Reggie, what is it like on the other end of the rope?
You big dude, you. I thought you were halfway down in the ground, and they pulled you out like they were pulling weeds.
Yeah, see, they cut set. I tell you, I hadn't got to surf yet here in Hawaii. I felt like it just then, if I ever felt like it. I was just useless. I tried to get down. As soon as I got down to go lean back, it was just, we were gone. I mean, it's obvious. I think you can see it on instant replay. Instant replay won't last that long, though. Well, it may be longer than the event that we just had. You might have to run it about 12 times. Won't you hold off on it, or maybe run reruns of 1937 World Series, or run it back in slow motion. We might be able to get about 10 seconds out of that. Joe, you had your guys set up. You had them how you thought you were going to be. You ran into a rough time into the boat race, and now the tug of war.
Well, I think the boat race was our downfall. We didn't keep the boat straight. I didn't personally, and we didn't beat them in a boat race. I think, we're at a disadvantage, of course, in the rope pull because we had 7 guys. They had 7. They got 1,500 pounds, and we only got 1,430. We're at a disadvantage. But our guys gave it all, and that's all we can do. They did the best they could do.
And in case you missed it, folks, here's how it happened. 9.83 seconds, and it was over. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are the Super Teams champions of 1976. The Steelers win a total of $139,000. That's $13,900 per man. The Cincinnati Reds, $113,000 or $11,300 per man. We'll be back to wrap it up in a moment.
Minutes ago, this little puddle of water was a scene of a great moment of drama. It didn't last very long, but now that it's over, it's just sort of a little old mud hole, but a very expensive one.
About $28,000 worth of water right there, so let's tread lightly.
And guess who lost?
Yeah, I know. I was trying to do everything I could for those baseball players, cheating for them, trying to dig up holes for them, giving them good interviews, getting them psyched up, patting them on the back, and even standing on their side and giving interviews and introductions and everything else, but to no avail. I guess this isn't the year for the Oakland A's, is it?
No, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have proven themselves formidable in other circumstances as well, and they delivered when they had to.
Well, absolutely. You got 2 teams that are used to being under pressure, but, the big, strong guys here wrapped it up and punched our guys out, I guess.
Right, Reg, thanks for your help.
Thank you, Keith.
That's the story of Super Teams for 1976 from Hawaii.
The preceding a presentation of ABC Sports.